Urgot's one of the other strong champions, so that does make sense, but opened up a couple options here for King, and that wouldn't be too surprising.
Yeah, it certainly wouldn't be too surprising as a first pick. Just so much early control that can come through. It's a contested pick between the two junglers. We said it's probably both of the junglers' best. So MLXG snapping.
Take it, but Gamti going to still have some options here. That's the thing about 5.6. You kind of look down Sejuani, Urgot, maybe Gragas. Like, the pool of top tier picks is just not that high.
Yeah, well, it's kind of strange because it depends what you want to play to. Like, I definitely agree that there isn't a very clear upper echelon. Everything can kind of be played at the moment, but if you want to build your team comp, these tanky team comps, there's certain linchpins that you do need. I'm looking at like the support Nautilus, things like that that really allow you. Hecarim is another one that we've just seen so much emphasis being placed on, so that will be taken away.
Yeah, Hecarim, Gragas, two very strong picks here for Gamti. Certainly seen a lot of these two champions recently, and that's not particularly surprising.
Yeah, it certainly isn't, especially on the same team. They're just very sticky onto the back line, able to get in there and really mix it up in the mid game. They're very brawl-heavy champions. Expecting a Maokai to come out here just to help with some peel, because Rek'Sai not going to be able to deal with both at once, but maybe the Sion will come through, kind of the same thing.
You can see that Liam hovering Janna there as well. Pretty good against the Hecarim Gragas initiation that could come in, and it is Silent Janna for King.
Yeah, so a big tank in the top lane. Don't know how they're going to be able to shut down the Hecarim, because in lane does relatively well against the Sion. As we see a massive yawn coming out of the Gamti players. A little bit early for them to be up and about.
Yeah, it's early for everyone. I guess for gamers, it's always early here. Is, you know, just kind of getting into the day here, making sure they warm it all up.
Yeah. So I think this means that a lane swap will come through from King, because they've gone with the Sion. So good in lane swap situations. Probably still the best top laner in that. Can just max the Q with the W, also stays relatively safe, and that will go a long way to shutting Let Me Down. So I would expect that to come through, but we're seeing a lot more of this. Oh, they've changed it out at the last minute,
yeah.
But the Vayne Kennen lane nearly was seen again. That will probably be a support Kennen.
Yeah, I think it is support Kennen, and Kog'Maw here for Tail. Again, we've talked about him swapping more to hyper carriers. He likes to play these more champions, but Kennen, Kog'Maw, totally fine. And Whoosh, he's already locked in Vayne.
Yeah, straight away you lock that one in. And this is a dangerous pick, because Kog'Maw, if ever hits the Living Artillery, will be able to see Vayne through everything and really does DPS her down quite quickly. So I'm surprised that was an insta-lock out of Whoosh, but a big confident pick.
Yeah, and give up the Galio. Unfortunately, they were hovering. Wouldn't have been too bad against Kennen, Hecarim, Gragas, but we'll see what they do on a Setlon. Zhao, he might just take something a bit more standard. Oh, sorry, Assassin might take something a bit more standard. And it's Vladimir for him.
Yeah, so he goes with the Vladimir over the Karthus. We've seen that they've played quite well with the Karthus. When you've got a split pusher like Vayne, who probably doesn't want to group until a little bit later, Karthus is so good because it's the cheating third man in on all of these things, even without a gank. So they do go for a little bit more of a team fight oriented late game scaling mid laner in Karthus. So many comps with two DPS threats. He just boosts everyone else's damage.
Yeah, it's kind of like a bonus fifth dragon is Vladimir in some ways here. It's a decent comp that King have put together. Vayne's going to have to struggle to get into range, and especially with Diana as the last pick. Whoosh has a big old target on his
surprised that he stayed with the heal for
I believe, and how good it is.
You see the Vladimir.
Like, just something you never really want to
fight.
Yeah, one of the weakest, if not.
She is so good, but
open up day 2 of week 11 autos back and forth, and yeah, don't adjust your monitors. That is support Kennen back again.
Yeah, it certainly is, and I've actually not minded the support Kennen pickup. It's looked fairly impressive in some games when we see Liam and Syncdream. They're just bumping heads with each other, trying to get some early gold.
Yeah, they both got a lot of spell teams gold, actually, so just trading autos back and forth. Janna will go back. Liam maybe even has some extra money to spend now with all the auto trading that happened. And Assassin and Jahu in the mid, hanging out. Assassin doing a bit of a dance.
Yeah, he certainly is.
Burst the ward.
Dropped the ward. Both of them dropped the ward. Oh, Assassin, he broke the truce. Slapped one of them.
Well, they're just going to sit here and hang out for a little bit here. I mean, they kind of know what's up. There's wards in the mid lane. Can't really sneak away anywhere.
Yeah, and it looks like it's going to be standard lane. So both teams just happy to commit to the 2v2. And that surprises me out of King. I thought that they had a better 2v1, but this is something that we've criticized them for, not making the strategical decisions.
Yeah, it's funny. One of the early games in the split was actually against Snake, a team they know very well. And honestly, Snake struggled to beat them in the LSPL last year and in amateur events. A lot of that was on the back of a great lane swap playing with the Twitch, but since then, King's bottom lane has been super stubborn when it comes to swaps.
Yeah, it certainly has, and they want the 2v2, even with the Waker matchup. I really think that Kog'Maw will be able to run away with this one, but they're going to get level 2. So many jungle camps being taken at the start of this game. Sion, Hecker in the bottom lane.
Yeah, we've kind of seen this evolution here as we see the Krugs taking out. Sky going to finish the Raptors and kill himself and then go back towards the top side. We've seen a lot of this, especially top laners taking early camps. That it's worth so much now if you can clear them out efficiently, and a lot of laners can, then why wouldn't you do it?
Yeah, exactly right. And MLXG going super low against this camp. Might even get taken out.
Has to be careful there. Blue buff very strong. Does just survive and pops back into the Burrowed form for regen.
Yeah, so he's able to get some regen coming through, but I don't know. He will have his smite available, so he might be able to do the red buff. Of course, it gives you a massive amount of health back, but that's a dangerous early clear.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, thankfully, no pressure coming through for Huey. Also quite low as he heads towards his red down the bottom, though. Woosh trading orders with Tail. Level 2 hit for both, but Kog'Maw just so much better with Bio-Arcane Barrage active.
Yeah, he certainly is. And the problem here with Kog'Maw is that as soon as he picks up that Sheen, his auto attack with just popping the W is a 1 auto attack trade with a lot of surprising damage, whereas Woosh is always going to need to get the 3 procs of the Silver Bolt throwers. MLXG in the end actually does it fairly easily.
Yeah, ends up quite healthy there. The smite on the red helping out a lot, but will tunnel away and then go back to recall for his first jungle item. Huey struggling similarly here, but does have his smite, so should be just fine here on the Gragas and clears the camp nice and efficiently.
Yeah, so Gragas, more so than Rek'Sai, can use his passive to get around and heal up. He just body slams around the jungle, and every, I think it's about 12, 15 seconds, he gets some health back. So he's a lot more healthy in this situation. Rek'Sai needs to build up the rage, then go into the burrow to be able to get anything back, and it's just too dangerous at this point in the game for him to do it. So we'll be able to stick around.
Thankfully, pretty safe for the junglers early on. Do their first few buffs uncontested. There is, we do have the Stalker's Blade completed now for MLXG, so going to go with that Chilling Smite for some extra CC. It's dropped off for a lot of junglers, but Rek'Sai seems to be the consistent one that still wants it.
Yeah, Rek'Sai still wants it. It is a little bit surprising because of how strong Skirmishes is at the moment. I just feel it's a better dueling potential, and Rek'Sai late game does have to dive onto the back line. Doesn't really do a good enough job of peeling solo to make that one work, so... don't get me wrong, it's a good pickup as they bump heads into each other.
Great ward there from MLXG, but can't follow in. Could have maybe stolen that away, but too aggressive to tunnel in perhaps, and gives it up. And Huey, now level 4, has a slight experience lead.
Yeah, he certainly does. He was able to get the complete clear of his jungle through as well. 15 creeps going over to him, so MLXG a little bit behind. This is a interesting gank because there's no CC coming out from Vlad unless you count the slow from the pool, and that's going to be difficult to make work, and they've got some good early vision down. Huey being tracked through this river.
Yeah, not enough here right now, but Huey will get spotted also, as we do see back in the bottom. Woosh and Lamb farming up, and interestingly, Woosh actually not struggling too much right now.
Yeah, so Woosh actually doing okay. The lane is reversing, and that's a massive CS advantage to Tail, actually, if you take in how many live creeps they are. But he's going to get some harass down.
Yeah, good stuff there, using the Condemn to proc the Silver Bolts. Just some standard Vayne trading happening here. And I mean, if this is going well for Vayne, we always talk about it in Vayne lanes, but even or better, that's exactly where you want to be.
Yeah, exactly right. But I think he will be a little bit behind here just because of how many live creeps there are. And wow, Sync Dream going for the 2v1, getting some nice damage out.
Yeah, not bad, but takes a lot of damage in return.
Probably needed to prep the minions there instead because it actually let 4 die to the turret, because his AD carry couldn't last hit them. Of course, probably running attack speed Quints there. So that was a little bit of a misplay, I think, from Sync Dream.
And we've talked about it a bit. Sync Dream's aggression, whether it's in lane or roaming aggressively to other places, it's not a cost tail in some situations. He likes to play these hyper carries, but he's not the self-sufficient carry player that he might have been on Corki. He needs a lot more help in these early stages.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And we see maybe an early gank coming through here for Huey. He's been spotted out by the Tremor Sense, but just a slight pause coming through.
Who's getting ganked though, Spawn? We already have Lamb and MLXG hanging out there, potentially able to spot him off. That was actually a very smart little setup there. They did spot him off with Rek'Sai as well, but looks like Huey might be able to get away, given the positioning currently.
Yeah, it looks like he's just going to go back into his own jungle. Of course, Gragas, if nothing is happening early, he's very happy to just continue to scale up. He does percentage health damage, gets extremely tanky with the Cinderhulk, so he's not probably going to want to force anything against Rek'Sai, who maybe isn't as good late game.
And that's kind of the funny thing to me is that Cinderhulk's obviously taken over as far as jungle is concerned in a lot of different ways, but even Rek'Sai, who has the option still of going warrior and getting aggressive if she wants to, most Rek'Sai players are opting back into the Cinderhulk still.
Yeah, they certainly are, and I think it's just because of the late game. Games are going later, and as there's a gank.
Yeah, gank down onto Sync Dream there. Flash knocker will come through Lamb. They're going to slow him out. Great Condemner into the wall, and first blood goes to Vayne.
Yeah, so now the Vayne lane really rolling, and that's I think the second time in 2 days that we've seen a Vayne lane pick up first blood just because of a little bit of a reckless play coming through from the other support. So good play out of King. They get the early gank through, and this is what Rek'Sai excels at, being able to force tempos of games.
It's one of the weirdest things to me that both Jinx and Vayne have this quality that's very rare for a hyper carry. They can snowball in different situations. Vayne, when a fight starts with her passive, always runs you down, and Jinx with the same on structures. So it shouldn't happen, but it keeps happening.
Yeah, I certainly agree. And look, if Whoosh gets a recall here, that's an absolutely frozen lane. And I like where you're going with that because of Vayne's build especially. I think that she goes into snowballing better than any other hyper carry. Gets lifesteal first item, which is just absolutely massive, but gank in the mid.
Yeah, Assassin in trouble there. Great pull there out from the body slam. Ulti not there for Huey Xiaohu, diving back in for a bit of trade damage, but Assassin already goes in and just transfuses back a bit of health.
Yeah, and Xiaohu was forced back a little bit earlier, so he's only got that null magic mantle. Assassin already on the revolver. He's not going to be able to be bullied out of lane for anything. There's just not enough CC lockdown.
Yeah, I like the Durant shield there as well, just for a bit of added protection against the Diana orders, even though she is primarily magic damage.
Yeah, so able to get some regen back as well. Of course, early game using that E just costs you a little bit too much health without the shield, so it's a pretty standard item coming through for the Vladimir. We'll see exactly... Oh, Teleport was actually burnt from Let Me in the top lane. They were pushing in aggressively with the Scion, and he's had to use that one to get back into lane, otherwise he would have fallen behind.
Yeah, and only just noticed, by the way, we've seen it a lot this weekend, so maybe forgive me for missing it, but that is actually the Smite Teleport Hecarim, so going to be moving into that Skirmisher Cinderhulk build.
Yeah, and I think that will become even more standard as time goes on. It's gotten a slight nerf, but it's still just an extremely strong route. Helps dealing with these hyper carries because you get some defensive and offensive purchase out of that item, so I like the way that it's going.
Yeah, and I think the funny thing for me is that in top lane especially, the Smite usually just doesn't matter.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't, because we've seen the return of the tanky top laners, I guess, with Maokai Scion, and you can play pretty much whatever you want into them, so if you're able to get away with it, it certainly does help you out.
Yeah, and Hecarims have been, you know, in the LPL with no flashes for quite a while at this point of the season, but Whoosh now level 6, continuing to get aggressive and slow push the wave in. Tail again's going to have to try and see us under turret.
Yeah, he certainly is this time around. He should have a better time of it because he does have that phage, so shouldn't need too much help, although none was forthcoming last time around. Also use that ooze. Kog'Maw, probably one of my favorite champions to see us on because it's just everything in his kit helps him get it done.
Yeah, I mean, Kog'Maw very... both level and item dependent, honestly. Every little level counts. Even your Q giving you extra attack speed is kind of a cute thing. As MLXG on top of the dragon, comfortably soloing and has the Barmy Cinder there as well. And Huey, not in the area. No vision at all, actually, for Gumpty. And MLXG basically just going to steal this away.
Yeah, but they must know what's going on. This is something that Rek'Sai does every single game with the ability to pop.
Ooh, down the bottom, Whoosh in trouble. Sync Trim gets Monsooned out, actually. And now the trade damage going to come through. Whoosh pop the ulti. Heal used as well. Exhaust down onto it as well. But Tail low on mana with no W back in King. The dueling will escape the trade.
Yeah, and I like what you pointed out there, the lack of the W. Kog'Maw is one of the few hyper carries that needs to fight in windows still, needs the W available, otherwise the range just isn't there. And you saw in that little bit of a skirmish, looked like he was winning it quite handily. The W fell off and he couldn't just get close enough.
Yeah, and all the lifesteal here for Vayne going to make any extended trades quite tricky. It's the reason that Kog'Maw's gone phage over the aggressive Sheen is that at this point with the early build water for Whoosh, he has to only take extended trades because he can't win in burst anymore.
Yeah, I certainly agree with that because Whoosh with the shield just going to be able to get through a lot of it and then heal up very well. As we see Kale actually struggling here, being forced off the wage, although Huey's in here. Yeah,
looking for a gank, does have his ulti. Flash available there as well for Gragas, so not too bad a gank, but the wave going to be potentially frozen back in place, and Whoosh, yep, hits the S key and just sits it here.
Yeah, exactly right, and they would have been able to sneak into that one. Huey now going to be spotted by that ward, so that's pretty unlucky timing coming through. It will just die now off screen. Might be able to pick up a pink ward, although Huey, he's waiting in the wings for a game.
Yeah, MLXG coming through there on the Rex side, barrel in, but Lamb clears out the ward, nicely placed pink. I like that it's a little bit back, just to make sure it's the hardest possible distance for your opponent to clear it.
Yeah, and that's a good thing to point out about pink wards. You always want to put them as close to your side of the map as possible. As Whoosh getting aggressive once again.
Yeah, Synctrim doesn't have his ulti, so a smart aggressive trade there for Whoosh, and the Vayne lane continuing to get ahead on CS. This is the scary time.
Yeah, it certainly is, and they've really managed to pull this one through. Credit to Whoosh for getting into a position where he's winning a very unfavorable lane. Cannon especially has just proven to be such a lane bully, not only in the top lane, but in that bottom lane. And I like the way this is going so far for King.
Yeah, Vayne Dana, not something you expect to win lanes on, but they've done a good job keeping it afloat so far and generating a nice lead. About 15 CS ahead for Whoosh. And again, Huey back down on the bottom side. No vision there for King. Whoosh going to put a ward in the bottom brush just to make sure, but Huey's going to be here for a while. This gank's never going to work.
Yeah, it certainly isn't. They actually stick around with Liam. Ooh, that might have been the only window because he tumbled to the side. I'm surprised there wasn't more aggression out of there. But the wave is pushing up, so Huey, the patience might pay off.
Yeah, MLXG's here as well. Lamb's quite low, though, is the only issue. And Syncdream going to get condemned. But again, just a couple of trades here for Whoosh. Not interested in going all in. Has a very good idea that Huey's here, and he finally leaves.
Yeah, he finally leaves because of how built up that creep wave was. And with Kennen, it's just so hard to thread all of the shurikens through those creeps. So Tail, he's going to have to do his best to pick that up. But that was with the support, Liam going back to base.
Yeah, I managed to sneak in a recall there after getting quite low in the earlier trade. And Whoosh now 115 CS effectively versus 91. Currently 1v2, although Liam is already back on Janna.
Yeah, as well as the Rek'Sai waiting in the wings. And Syncdream, he was in a little bit of trouble. Condemn just didn't go off.
Yep. Good stuff there as the wave will get pushed back in. Again, Whoosh continuing to get ahead and even going to get aggressive, tumble towards the turret, just get some autos down. And Liam's even gone off to roam now. In fact, MLXG going to try a dive here.
Yeah, so they're going for the dive. Always hard with Kennen.
Oh, Syncdream in trouble though. Tail gets very low. Will go down there to Janna. Now Syncdream in trouble, going to get chased up by Vayne. Great flash auto there to get the kill. Acathian Surprise does good damage, but King 2-0.
Yeah, and they're able to make it work, even diving a Kennen. He pretty much has an instant stun at this point in the game, but they got through there, able to pick up both kills, and that's a lot of CS dead to the turret.
Yeah, Whoosh even taking CS as they finish the dive and thread back towards the bottom of the lane. Bottom lane going exceptionally well for King in the top side. Sky looking good. Rek'Sai coming in towards the area. Let me will back away. Rek'Sai not that close, but he doesn't know that.
Yeah, he certainly doesn't know that, and he even had to use a skirmisher's smite there. Sky is really starting to bully this lane. Not showing in a CS discrepancy as of yet, but you can see that he's used 2 teleports to get back to that lane. Sky's only used 1, so he's definitely getting some advantages.
Yeah, and Sion's still strong as the top lane of that Q. You know, a lot of power got moved out of the E, but people just maxing Q, looking just fine there in those lanes. Is very even on the CS front. Hecarim will eventually outscale here and will enjoy the free farm, but if Sky can bully a bit more, get some damage on the turret, then we start potentially having problems. And in fact, the turret's down now. Let Me returns. Does have a few more items, but Sky with his ulti available especially and his flash, probably not in trouble here.
Yeah, he certainly isn't in trouble. In fact, he might just be able to walk away without even using the ultimate. So not much really going Ninja Tabi versus...
Not much at all. As Blade of the Room.
Far ahead accelerated Vayne, and he's done it through maxing Tumble. So we mentioned the power of the trading coming through from Kog'Maw by just pressing the W. Whoosh has decided to match that through a Q max instead of the W max, and I like the adaptation in the lane.
Yeah, I like it a lot. Very clever. Let's hear from King as well. They might look to redive and take the turret.
Yeah, it looks like that is what they have in mind. Just build some advantages up on the side of the map where they fight it. All the vision they're going in. Puzzle of a team fight coming through. Exactly right. You see the Hemo plate come through. Not to mention the pool just getting rips people apart. Let me
ulti there and basically peel tanks who are on top of him. Let him pull back to his team. Sick ulti by Lane.
Yeah, it's the best 2-item spike that you can get. So I just really like it coming through. The only person that can probably match it is a Draven with something ridiculous like match him at this point. Maybe
next big power point for him. For
bit bang for buck out of that, but yeah, in general, not really that great. And they look like they want to gank onto Woo.
Their split push attempt, making sure they stay by. In fact, Lamb's just there, hanging out, providing a bit of a passive movement speed
on the rest of the map, even when he hasn't done.
Yeah, great movement here, and we'll get them a tier 2. Now 4-0 up in turrets, actually. Taking all the outers out and finally claim their first tier 2. I say finally, it's actually quite quickly here. Only 90 minutes into the game, and King have a massive advantage.
Yeah, the turret. They might even look for the fight
afterwards. They might. Syncdream pumps his ulti, good turn. Back into the team. Tail gets the kill after all the stuns move in. They're going to cover. Let Me moving in. Whoosh poking back and forth as well. Good Q there as Whoosh dodges all of the skill shots on this Vayne.
Yeah, so now they're...
A massive 4-man knockup, but he'll go down instead. Great catch by Maybe going to go down to a Shuriken, tumbles out of the way again. Still going in, once Syncdream gets the kill there, 1v4. Can he keep going? No, gets knocked up. Almost gets another kill though.
Yeah, so Whoosh with some fantastic mechanics, but in the end it was all about the catch that went down at the start. Assassin falling before he could get anything done just meant that it was always going to be a 4v5, and don't get me wrong, King still looking very impressive, but Gamti, they come out slightly ahead.
Yeah, 7,000 gold ahead still for King. That 8,500 gold or so, just tarnished slightly here as Assassin returns to the bottom side of the map. I guess they bought enough time that he's actually able to protect that wave, so that's one nice thing, as they did spend a lot of time chasing, but Vayne's finished up her Ghostblade. Abyssал's now done for Assassin. Even a Hex Trigger here for MLXG on top of his Cinderhawk, Ninja Taba, and the Sidestone. He's actually stealing away a buff now as well.
Yeah, he's certainly going to try. I don't think he's going to get it, though. There's just too many people coming in. Huey, he'll be able to secure this one for Xiaohu. Just zoning away the Rek'Sai. Doesn't want a Smite Steal to come through. And
good buff take there from Diana. They'll get some vision out of it, but Dragon back in 55 seconds. Where do King want to go next?
Yeah, so they want to trim the wave in the top lane. They need to get everything pushing. This is what King hasn't done well. So you saw it even with that. They overstayed a little bit with the turret, and then they didn't prioritize it, actually prioritize the fight, which meant that they missed out on some objectives here. So they need a reset, make sure that all three waves are there pushing, and either send the Vayne by herself to a lane to get some split pushing done and try and outplay Let Me, or just still continue to group up with the Frozen Heart as well as the Sunfire Cape. Sion's not going to take any damage from objectives. He has very good buff control at this point, looking at the Baron and Dragon that is back up in about 20 seconds. So they can really pick where they want to fight. Yeah,
I like the mobile duo coming through as well between Rek'Sai and Janna. Lots of speed there to move between these lanes. Makes sense why they've actually rotated very well to get these turrets here. Looks like right now, given that Dragon's back up in 3 seconds, they're going to group and try and fight this Dragon.
Yeah, so they're going to group. They'll be able to take it here. I don't think that top lane, he's a lot of what this team
pretty heavily pressured here. Teleport coming in, and King
and Woosh starts it up, but
Thunder by Cannon, ultimate on top as well, and Xiaohu claims that kill. In the backline though, Assassin picks up tail with a massive flank. Now Sky in the mix as well. 4v4, and only the AD carries both go down.
Yeah, and I just don't understand what King are trying to accomplish there. They just needed to keep eyes on Let Me. As soon as they saw Let Me disappear, they needed to disengage. He was in the top lane for so long, pushing out that wave. The home guard just adds so much to Hecarim's kit. He was able to get into the backline and completely shred the Vayne.
And you can see Xiaohu getting stronger. Has a Rabadons now, actually, so was able to clean up that AD carry kill very swiftly. And that's Woosh's biggest fear here, is Diana just not even maybe necessarily hitting the Q, just ulting on top of you and sticking to you and never letting go.
Yeah, exactly right. All she has to do is auto-attack with her passive and pretty much die on sight. Diana just such a strong duelist in this current meta. Throw in the fact that circumvented any defensive stats in the second item, hasn't gone for maybe something like a Zhonya's Hourglass, instead straight into that death cap, looking to just completely pop people.
Yeah, massively tanky with the W there as well for a bit of double dipping. QSS done for Woosh, but might not help too much against Diana's raw damage, and the knock-up from Moonfall. Liam trying to knock up the pony, but Let Me does charge out of the way. And actually on a bit tanky now. Spectre's Cow is his next item after the Fetch.
Yeah, and this is something that Let Me's done pretty well, actually, is understand when he can get away with getting a quick Trinity Force and when he needs to go tankier. I think with how far ahead Vlad was before that last fight, he's 3-1-2, has some very good CS at 233 at only 24 minutes in. He was getting to the point where Hecarim couldn't shrug him off.
MLXG actually found a home guard gank here with his ulti out onto Huey, but just a knock-up, gets a bit of vision down as well. And it seems like Baron might be the next objective for these teams.
Yeah, and you know, with how badly the last fight went, it's surprising that King are going to stick at it, but the reason is that the teleport's now down for Let Me, so he's not going to get that huge flanking ultimate like he had for the last fight. So I do think King's still in control at this point. Gamti probably need a fight around that cooldown, and that means for the next 2.5 minutes, they probably can't contest.
I mean, especially for Woosh at this point, now with both purple items, the Ghostblade, the Blade of the Ruin King, and the QSS, he's just such a potent split push threat as well.
Yeah, he certainly is. His only fear is maybe getting caught out by that Diana, so I still think that they'll stick with the Hecarim versus Sion matchup at this point, just in case they rotate Diana. And of course, as soon as you get away from... Ooh, are they going to choose to fight? No, just some poke damage coming through. So as soon as you choose to not split push with your teleporter, it means that it can be matched by the mid lane mage, and that's exactly what Xiaohu wants at this point.
Yeah, I mean, King, I think, looking at some sort of 1-3-1, just moving Rek'Sai Janna between the lanes. And again, they're a very mobile unit together, so they can kind of by the Diana, and there's plenty of good hard engage for Gamti. One person dies, you start a 4v5, and things are going to look real bad.
Yeah, exactly right. We've already seen the 4v5 and how that one plays out, but they two members, no Vayne there. I don't think they can do it quick enough. MLXG just taking so much damage.
Yeah, too much damage, in fact, and Baron will get checked. Rek'Sai very low on health there.
They have all season long. Giving up objective.
Again, strategic heavy team, and some of the early games showed a bit of promise there, but have struggled, especially in the mid games, to close thing out. Gonna look to scale, at least do have the Vayne game, and they're very happy with this.
Yeah, they certainly have. Blue buff steal does come through, so at least they're prioritizing smaller objectives a lot better, but
there we go.
In there has the distortion, so he moves pretty quickly with those, able to get in. And for me, it's been the differences between the junglers. 0-0 for some early game control. Huey really hasn't done enough. As a Gragas, hasn't been able to get in and bully any of the lanes. Gragas' CC is very...
Side gonna get chased out here. Presica lands. Smite comes as well. I don't know who got it. MLXG though gonna get knocked up there. Will get slowed as well, but gonna dive back in. Sky's here as well. Let me trying to find a flame, but Singtrim getting low. Will go down after he channels the ulti. Huey now going down as well. A Sky will collect that kill, and that's 2 good kills for King. Now maybe they go to Baron.
Yeah, maybe they go to Baron, but they still need to be aware of the home guard coming through. They need to get a ward in. They'll start it up and see if they can get it.
Yeah, they can see him. He's collapsing a tunnel right now, so decent vision. Wards will get thrown in, but that should get taken up fairly quickly and does, in fact, go down. I like the zoning cue there from Sky, and Baron with Vayne here going down nice and quickly. Assassin going really deep there, trying to get some kills down. MLXG diving in as well. Flash double knockup finds in. MLXG gets tail. Now Xiaohu going to get knocked away. Gets knocked up by the Q, and Woosh claims that one. MLXG lives through the heal. He's going to go back, recall back in with the ultimate, and Woosh are going to stop Baron. Oh, MLXG going down to let me, though.
Yeah, and now maybe they can't do it. How quickly is it being bursted? Not enough, and a bad mistake. He was recalling in vision and then didn't cancel it to reposition himself. Probably cost his team the Baron there, but a one-team fight nonetheless for King.
Yeah, it's so dangerous as well to go for Baron when there are 2 smites on the enemy team. I'd forgotten about that fun fact, but even let me level 15 or 16, I think 16 at this point, that's a very powerful smite.
Yeah, and that's something that we haven't really touched on, is the fact that top lane is probably always going to be a higher level than the jungler, so they have much better smite control in the mid game. The 3-level advantage just means that there's no way that they can go for it whilst Letme's alive. And you never thought you would say that, because a drive-by pony just might take it away.
Yeah, can ult in there very fast, very resilient, can just get on top of the Baron. King, though, really forcing the issue, but there's still a ward in the back of the Baron as well. I mean, this is just maybe over-forcing here for King at this point. Not even going to clear the wall. They've got a pink right in the back. Going to keep in on top of the Baron, though, and should be able to get it just. Although as Let Me is going to come in. Might look to steal. It's run in there. Does steal away the Baron. Huey now in the back there as well. Let Me going to get chunked up pretty massively. Wuso will get the kill. Huey looks to be the next to fall as he gets knocked up by MLXG, and Vayne, she gets the double.
Yeah, so double kill over for Vayne, but the Baron was taken by Gamti, and we were just mentioning how much work these top laners with Smite can get done, and you just can't outsmite them as a jungler.
No, I mean, at least they get the 2 kills. King are now finally going to push in, so might have just been a bait here. 20 seconds left for the top laner and jungler, but yeah, it's funny that we just mentioned it, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, exactly right, and we'll see if they want to go for this dive. No, instead they just take out the turret. They're going to take out the inhibitor as well, probably back away. That's enough work done, because Vayne, not a good sieger, so if you're able to grab a free way into the base early on in the game, and it's only still 30 minutes, that's definitely a good thing.
Yeah, breaking the base, always important for these late game comps, especially ones that do have extra trouble sieging. Vayne are certainly counting in there. Dragon is going to be attempted here by King as well. Gump here in the area, and Let Me looks to be porting in as well. Dragon, though, will go over to King. Let Me around the side looking for a flank. Does find Lamb. Going to dive in on top of him, try and take him out. Monsoon happens. Decimatic smash channeled on the exhaust down, but Singtrim now going to dive into the backline. Sky will get the next kill, and Assassin doing so much damage. Good zombies by Singtrim, but lining up the Q, going to give Sion the double kill. Xiaohu next to fall, goes down to Vayne, and Huey has to run. MLXG tunnels through the wall. Huey going to go down. Good ultimate to keep him alive for a little while longer, but Assassin, he's picked up tail, and MLXG looking for the ace. Just needs to chase a little bit further, and Assassin going to clean it out. No, it's Rek'Sai, and there's the ace.
Yeah, so that's the ace. It's probably going to be the game as well. King with a much better late game. They still had a slight hiccup in the mid game, but in the end, they were probably able to run through. Might not be able to finish it up here, but they'll definitely at least get a second inhibitor.
They're going to push their way in and get the other inhib. Teleport coming through for Sky as well. Nice and healthy, so might even help them break the base finally. 12, 13,000 gold ahead. Gumty, people are back up tail. I think still dead. Xiaohu coming back soon. It's taken a little while, but King do get the other inhib, and they're going to go onto the Nexus.
Yeah, so they're onto the Nexus turrets. We'll see if they're able to stick around. No, in the end, they have to back away. So Garmty, they'll live to fight another day. But there just doesn't seem to be much of an answer. That was a great flank that came through from Letme. He was able to get onto the backline, set himself up, but just a little bit too squishy. And the Vlad Vayne combo just does massive damage.
Yeah, it's funny. We look at Vayne, and her big issue is, of course, that her single target damage great, but anything else after that, real hard if she's not attacking a single target. Vladimir, he'll take care of the AoE for you.
Yeah, exactly right. Being able to stack up the E, the late game damage on the pool can never be underestimated as well. Just getting so much work done. Sion also doing fairly good damage at this point in the game as well. He's been accelerated throughout the laning phase. He took it to Letme in what was maybe a bully matchup for the Hecarim, but able to get it done. So across the board, King really looking strong at the later part of this season.
Yeah. Sion does do, I think, a bit of missing health damage in it on the W, I believe. So does get a decent amount of purchase out of late game damage. I think Vladimir Vayne's kind of cool, but I think Sion Vladimir's even better.
Yeah, I think that that's a really cool thing to point out as well. They're able to get some lockdown CC through their top lane, but some big base damage more importantly. So it just augments the Hemoplague damage really nicely. And as we see, some creeps being taken down in the mid lane. Xiaohu trying to clear out for his team, but his build, it's been extremely aggressive, but he hasn't been able to get onto the back line. 1, 3, and 4, not the game we're expecting.
No, and it's a big assassination build for him as well. Didn't go for Sting and Nashor's Tooth. Might go out later, of course, the last item as Huey will get aggressed on by MLXG, but hasn't been able to match the split push the King have really been forcing all game long here. And it wasn't the biggest component of the position they're in right now. It's some smart forcing around the Baron that finally got them to it. And this last turret's not going to last too long.
Yeah, it certainly isn't. They're just going to wait for the other waves to push in. They're probably tanky enough to take some turret shots themselves as well, so they'll just be able to run into the base and eventually take down the last inhibitor. You see already 2 members have to go back to protect the Nexus because of how deep it is, so we'll see exactly how they push in here.
Yeah, going in. Assassin, I like the front lining he's doing here. Good damage coming through, fairly tanky with his transfusion. Can just kind of walk up, tank some turrets here, cue somebody in the face, and then walk away for a bit of poke. MLXG, similar sort of positioning here. And again, it might take a while, but 2 inhib lanes pushing. Sky over in the middle of the base, able to ulti in for a flank if he needs to as well. It's only a matter of time, but King are more than happy to be patient here.
Yeah, exactly right. They've got the Vayne in the late game positioning, and you see the Sion actually just taking down base turrets by himself right now. Doesn't really care about any of the damage. He goes in.
Yeah, Tail not happy with what's going on. Singteam, good ulti as Assassin in the middle over there, but there's too much damage coming through Whoosh. He's getting chased down by Zhao, who will get aggressed on, but Hemoplague's lined up nicely. Vayne did go down there, but Assassin still chasing away, gets the double kill. Will Assassin let me? The only one for Garmty left alive, and that'll be game for King.
Yeah, it certainly looks to be in. King, once again, they had that bit of a rocky